My boyfriend is an emotional therapist. In order to help Danghong Xiaohua treat her emotional disorder, he accompanied her to do 100 things that couples should do. When the media exposed the video of them hugging and kissing in the cinema, he explained to me indifferently, "I'm just treating her. Don't think nonsense." During the journey, I met Gu Suici, a movie stemper who suffered from insomnia. I'm a hypnotist, and he spent a lot of money to hire me to help him treat insomnia. I opened a live broadcast to coax the movie emperor to sleep. Xinghan blew up my phone and ordered me, "Get out of his bed now." 1. Xinghan and I walked hand in hand on the streets of foreign countries. When he passed a huge poster, he let go of my hand and leaned against the poster. "Shin Mian, take a picture of me." Xinghan is not a person who likes to take photos. But today it is particularly positive. It seems that he wants to take a photo with the poster behind him. The actress in the poster is Yin Qianma, a popular little flower in China. I have seen Xinghan use her portrait as a computer wallpaper, but I didn't care. After all, I am also using the photos of the movie Emperor Gu Suici as my mobile phone wallpaper. It's normal for each of us to have a favorite star. I took out my mobile phone and generously helped him take a photo with Yin Qianma on the poster. In the photo, he has a bright smile, which shows that he is in a happy mood. After passing the photo to him, we walked towards the square. His phone rang. On the other end of the phone, there was a beautiful female voice, as if she was consulting him about emotional therapy. Xinghan is an emotional therapist. After graduating from college, he opened an emotional clinic, and now he is doing well. Seeing that he had a job to talk about, I went to the front alone to buy bread. Let's feed the pigeons with bread later. Xinghan and I are each other's first love. We agreed to do 100 things that couples should do. Feeding pigeons is the 50th thing we have to do. When we have done enough to do 100 things, we will get married. I took the bread and folded it back to find him. As soon as he hung up the phone, his eyes were full of excitement. "Shin Mian, I'm going back to China to treat a guest now, and I can't feed pigeons with you." I felt lost in the bottom of my heart. What guest is so important? Can't we wait for our trip back to take over this business? She is a female star. If I treat her well, I can connect with people in the entertainment industry. I have booked the next flight back to China. I'll contact you later. Xinghan left in a hurry, and left me on the streets of a foreign country. He left in such a hurry, that he didn't even ask me if I wanted to go back with him. 2. I was stunned on the street for a long time before I dialed his phone. "Xinghan, we have been preparing for this trip for so long." Before he finished speaking, he interrupted. "Play by yourself. Don't affect your mood because of my work." But my mood has been affected, and his attitude makes me very unhappy. I subconsciously asked, "Is the female star who asked you for treatment Yin Qianma?" "Well, it's her." Xinghan frankly admitted. "Her schedule is very full. She only has a slot in the next few days, so I came back in a hurry. I'm working hard for my career, isn't it, to save more money and marry you? It's up to this point. It's not interesting for me to say more." After hanging up the phone, I took the bread to feed the pigeons. When the pigeon took off, I caught a glimpse of a stunning face. He stood in the group of flying pigeons, and the picture was like a movie. I recognized him. He was the movie Emperor Gu Suici, the man I set as the wallpaper of my mobile phone. His private life is very mysterious. It has been half a year since he last appeared at the award party to receive the award, that I didn't expect to meet him on a trip. The real person is 10 times more handsome than on the screen. There were people coming and going in the square. When I realized that I was going to take a photo with him, he had already gone far away. 3. 5 days later, the gossip of Yin Qianma spread on the domestic entertainment page. The paparazzi exposed the video of her kissing a mysterious man in the theater. The paparazzi broke the news that the mysterious man was Yin Qianma's new boyfriend. Although the video was not very clear, I recognized at a glance that it was Xinghan who hugged and kissed Yin Qianma. He kissed so carefully, as if he was holding a treasure. I called and questioned Xinghan. "What's the matter with you and Yin Qianma?" Xinghan explained slowly and logically. "She has an emotional disorder. I'm just treating her. Don't think nonsense." I was furious. Do I need to kiss her to treat emotional disorders? Qianma was traumatized in puberty, and could not fall in love normally. This is the best treatment plan that I finalized after discussing with her. Xinghan gave me a preventive injection. If the media exposes the gossip between me and her in the future, don't mind too much. It's all part of the treatment. I was extremely angry, and my heart was cold. I tried to calm down my emotions. "Xinghan, let's break up." After saying that, he hung up the phone and didn't give him a chance to argue. We originally planned to set off fireworks at the Starry Sky tent camp on the top of the mountain. Now, I am the only one who looks at the bright starry sky above my head alone. The details of getting along with Xinghan over the years flashed in my mind. He came from a reorganized family. His childhood was not happy, and he was often subjected to domestic violence by his own father and stepmother. I often share my candy with him, talk to him, and heal him little by little. When we grow up, we go with nature to be together. He once said that I was the only flower in his barren life. Although his childhood was unfortunate, God had mercy on him, and made him have the purest and most beautiful feelings. Now, in order to heal another person's emotional trauma, he has destroyed our pure beauty with his own hands. For the next moment fireworks bloomed. It illuminates the night sky and dispels the boredom in my heart. I saw the person standing in the distance setting off fireworks, but it turned out to be Gu Suici. Unexpectedly, I could meet him again. We stood in two different directions, and enjoyed the gorgeous fireworks together. The fireworks burned out, and the surroundings returned to silence. I stepped up and summoned up my courage and said, "Hello, Guingdi. I'm your fan. Can I take a photo with you?" He is more approachable than I thought. When you get close to him, you can smell the cold and dull woody fragrance on his body. He gave me an unreal sense of distance, just like a rich flower blooming on the top of a snowy mountain. I took a group photo of us with the front camera of my mobile phone. At the end of the group photo, he walked into the tent next to me and pulled down the curtain. When I fell asleep at night, I browsed Yin Qianma's Weibo. She posted a selfie in the cinema, and a photo of her fingers clenched. I recognized Lu Xinghan's hand, and there was a couple ring of our text on his middle finger. Picture and text. 100 things that couples do. The first one. Hug and kiss in the cinema. Her response was a solid gossip. I can't believe that she and Lu Xinghan will develop so fast. The treatment plan formulated by Lu Xinghan for her turned out to accompany her to do 100 things that couples should do. My existence seems to be a joke. 5. My best friend Mingxi took a screenshot of Yin Qianma's Weibo and sent me several WeChat messages. Mian Mian, I remember that this is the pattern of the couple ring between you and Lu Xinghan. The man who is close to Yin Qianma is not Lu Xinghan, right? I watched the video of the paparazzi exposure, which really looks like Lu Xinghan. Aren't you traveling abroad? Did he go back to China? Where are you now? Please reply to my message quickly. I made a video call to Ningxi. She got a definite answer from me. First, she scolded Lu Xinghan, and then said aggressively, "I'm going to expose Yin Qianma's boyfriend on the internet, and I know 3. No, don't be impulsive." I stopped Ningxi. It's Lu Xinghan's fault. Maybe Lu Xinghan hid the fact that he had a girlfriend from her. Forget it. I just broke up with Lu Xinghan, so as not to delay him from chasing the goddess. Ningxi was angrier than me and asked, "You and Lu Xinghan have been in a relationship since you were young, and we're going to get married. Are you willing?" Of course I'm not willing. But this incident made me realize that Lu Xinghan's feelings for me are not firm. Breaking up now is better than cheating on him after we get married. That I changed the topic. I won't talk about this. Do you know who I met on my journey? I met Gu Suici and took a photo with him. Ningxi, like me, is also a fan of Gu Suici. She marveled, "Wow, is it true? Send me the group photo quickly." Did you ask him for an autograph? By the way, help me also want one. Can you ask him for me when he can see his next movie? He has been missing for half a year. Let him come back and make a career quickly. Even if he got the 3 gold film emperor at a young age, it was not a reason for him to mess up. The more Ningxi said, the more excited she became. I joked and asked, "If Gu Suici wants to fall in love with you, will you break up with your current boyfriend?" Ningxi has an engaged fiancé. She cut the nail and cut the road. Spart must split. Let's talk to Gu Suici first. I was silent. Lu Xinghan probably thought so too, right? 6. After falling asleep, I dreamed of my mother. She sat at the head of the bed and sang to lull me to sleep as she did when she was a child. In my dream, I want to hold her hand tightly, but she slowly let go of me, and her eyes were full of exhaustion. Mian Mian, Mom is tired. Mom wants to sleep and never wake up. Live well and don't blame your mother. I woke up from my sleep, and a sense of loneliness arose. My mother left me for 15 years, and committed suicide by swallowing sleeping pills. I never blamed her for abandoning me. I just regret that I didn't find out earlier that she had severe insomnia. If I had known earlier that she had insomnia, I would have coaxed her to sleep like she coaxed me. If so, wouldn't she take sleeping pills to die? I couldn't sleep after waking up. I got up, walked out of the tent, and walked towards the cliff on the top of the mountain. In the distance, I saw a lonely back, standing on the edge of the cliff against the wind. What a coincidence. Gu Suici didn't sleep either. Hearing the footsteps, he turned around and looked at me. I went up and explained, "I'm not an illegitimate meal. I can't sleep. Come out to get some air." His deep eyes revealed a touch of fatigue, and he asked lazily, "Do you also have insomnia?" "I don't have insomnia. I just woke up from a nightmare." I stopped and asked, "Do you have insomnia?" He nodded. "Well, since I was a child, it is difficult to fall asleep, and it is also easy to wake up after falling asleep. Isn't this my potential customer?" I took out the hypnotist certificate from my mobile phone and showed it to him. "My name is Shun Mian. I am a licensed hypnotist. Now I am working in the Good Sleep Research Center. Can I help you treat you?" His eyes fell on the hypnotist certificate, and did not immediately take a stand. Our hypnotist and the Sleep Research Center are dependent on each other, and we are free to work. The Sleep Center introduces customers to us, and draws a lot from them. In addition, the hypnotist will also develop customers by himself, so that there is no need to draw for the Sleep Center. I put away my mobile phone, looked at the starry sky, and said slowly, In fact, my mother is also an insomniac patient like you. When I was a child, she often sang to lull me to sleep. After I fell asleep, she couldn't sleep all night, so she lost her job as a music teacher. My parents divorced when I was very young. My mother raised me alone, which was under a lot of pressure. Later, she couldn't bear the torture and took sleeping pills to suicide. This is also the original intention of me, to choose to be a hypnotist when I grew up. I want to help people like her who have difficulty falling asleep, which is also making up for the regret in my heart. I said this, and my voice choked slightly. I don't know if it was my heartfelt words that touched Gu Suici. His eyes moved slightly and he let go. Miss Shen, please help me treat it. 7. We went back to the camp. I let him lie in bed and start the first treatment. Some people's insomnia is caused by biological clock confusion, and some people's insomnia is caused by high mental stress and untieable knots. I will ask you a few questions before the treatment in order to analyze which cause you are. I softened my voice and asked in turn from family to work to feelings. When asked about feelings, I asked a few questions. How many times have you been in love? Have you ever been hurt? Is there anyone you can't forget, or something regretful? He answered one by one. I haven't talked about it. Does secret love count? When it comes to regret and unforgettable people, it is probably because my mother died early, and I didn't have time to show filial piety. He has no gossip after entering the circle, but if he says he hasn't talked in private, I won't believe it. After all, he is 27 years old. I guess he didn't want to reveal his emotional state, so he casually said perfunctory. I in combination with the previous. He said that his mother fell from a building and died when he was 11 years old, and his father soon married his stepmother. I guess the reason for his insomnia comes from the family. There must be something that has not been untied. If your mother were still alive, what would you like to do most with her now? Take her on a trip. I nodded. Well, you are meditating now. Imagine the picture of your trip in your mind. The more details the better. Gu Suici closed his eyes, as if he was meditating. I removed the hypnotic bell on my wrist to make a soft and pleasant sound. Gradually, Gu Suici went to sleep. The corners of his lips rose slightly, as if he was having a sweet dream. In that dream, he should be traveling with her mother. I sat aside and waited quietly. After about half an hour, the smile on his mouth slowly disappeared. Instead, he frowned. I know he started to have nightmares. What happened in the nightmare was the knot in his heart. After another half an hour, he suddenly woke up. There was a trace of anger in the cold eyes. I handed him a glass of water and asked, "What did you dream about just now?" 8. I dreamed of the picture of my mother before falling from the building. One hand was holding her neck, and she struggled desperately. Gu Suici looked painful. This dream is cut off every time it is half done. She called my name before she died, which sounded very reluctant to leave me. This is not a dream, this is a real thing. What has troubled him for many years is that he can't let go of his mother's death. I asked a sharp question. Do you know who those hands are? His eyes were dark, and he shook his head. Everyone around me said that my mother didn't want to jump off the building to commit suicide. The police also investigated the matter and closed the case by suicide. I remember that I was at the scene of the incident, but I don't remember anything. This half of the dream has haunted me for so many years, making me insane. I even doubted if I pushed my mother downstairs. I answered, "So, are you afraid to fall asleep? This is the knot of your insomnia, right?" He nodded. Since you have had this half of the dream so many times, you must be able to tell whether the hand holding your mother's neck is an adult's hand or a child's hand." His eyes deepened, as if he was avoiding something, and he changed the topic. "Miss Shen, let's be here tonight. It's late at night, and you should go back to bed." He got up and sent the guests off. "Well, if you want to cure insomnia, please face it without reservation." I opened the QR code and asked him to scan it. "You add me as a friend for easy contact." He caught a glimpse of his photo on the screen of my mobile phone, and the corners of his lips drew an arc. After adding each other as friends, I went back to my tent. Have a good night's sleep. I slept until the sun. When I woke up, I saw a transfer message from Gu Suici on WeChat. He was generous and transferred 500,000 yuan to me, with the treatment fee on it. He also left me a message. "Miss Shen, this is the treatment money. This is the end of the treatment. Thank you for last night." I got up quickly and went to Gu Suici's tent. The camp staff told me that the guest of the tent left early this morning. In fact, he should know very well who the owner of the hands in the dream is. But he didn't want to face it. That's why I gave up the treatment. 9. I didn't take his money and sent him a message back. "I haven't cured you yet, and I can't accept the treatment money. If you want to thank me, please sign for me next time we meet." When I called Mingxi last night, I promised her that if I had a chance to see Gu Suici again, I would try to ask for an autograph for her. The treatment came out too late last night, and I didn't want to open my mouth. After a while he replied to my message. "You take the money, and I'll sign for you next time we meet." I insist on not accepting his money, and the money will be returned to his account in 24 hours. Insomnia has not been cured. If I charge such a high amount of medical fee, It will be against my original intention to take the hypnotist certificate. 500,000 is not much for him. But for me, it is a matter of principle. Next, I traveled for another 3 days according to the original schedule. Visiting museums, watching exhibitions, listening to operas. The journey was smoother than I imagined. Even the tickets I couldn't get, and the hotels I couldn't book were easily taken. I don't know if I am favored by the god of luck, but I have been living a good life these years. After my mother's death, the community gave me a fund every year to support my studies in life. The community said that the funds were funded by a kind person abroad, who did not want to be named. During the trip, Xinghan sent me several messages, and asked me what I was doing, but I didn't reply to him. On the day of returning to China, I was at the airport VIP. Coax him to sleep 9 times 10 to the power of 121. The waiting room met Gu Suici again. He is different from my destination. I have to go back to China to work, and he has to fly to another country to visit his grandmother. I greeted him with a smile, and both of them secretly avoided the topic of that night. He took out a signature from his bag and handed it to me. This is the signature promised to you. I asked for this one for my best friend. I put away my signature and said cheekily, "Can you sign another one for me?" He is easy to talk to. "Well, do you have a pen with you?" I didn't bring a pen. I subconsciously put my palm up and proposed, "Why don't you sign it on my hand?" His eyes were fixed on the ring above my finger, and was silent for a moment. I regretted it after saying that. Even I myself think this request is a little excessive, that I lowered my hand and said, "Let's forget it. I'm going to buy a pen." Unexpectedly, he held my wrist and asked me to put my palm up. "Sign it on your hand." He carefully signed his name in the palm of my hand with his fingertips. Time seemed to slow down suddenly, and there was a feeling of electric shock in the palm of my hand. His face is so handsome that I am distracted. It's hard not to fall in love with the actress who plays with him, right? He lowered his voice and said, "If a man proposes to you and doesn't even want to buy a ring, you should consider it carefully." He left you on the street that day, and I saw it. When he told me the central thing, my cheeks turned red and I explained in a low voice, "It's already broken up. I'll wash off Wen's ring." This ring was worn when I was in love with Xinghan. At that time, I was young and wrote on impulse. It was not a proposal ring. The news of my boarding flight came from the broadcast, that I picked up my luggage, and was about to leave. Gu Suici suddenly said, "Xinghan." There was an emotion in his eyes that I couldn't understand. This is the first time he called my full name. It sounds like he has called it many times, and it is not awkward at all. I was a little puzzled. Is there anything else?" He was silent for a moment and swallowed what he was going to say. "It's nothing. If you need treatment, contact me again." "Okay." I said goodbye to him and said with a smile, "I'm looking forward to your next movie." He swept me leave and waited for my back to disappear from his sight, before he withdrew his gaze. He took out a pen from his pocket, put it on his fingertips and turned it, raising the corners of his lips slightly. In a place I didn't know, he dialed a phone. "Grandma, I couldn't bring her back this time. I'm not ready to tell her everything." 10. After boarding, before the plane took off, I searched for news related to Gu Suici on the internet. I clicked on the interview when he won the 3 gold medals. The media asked him, "I heard that if you don't enter the circle, you can inherit a huge amount of family property. Why did you choose to make a movie?" In the camera, he replied lightly, "In order to make her see me." Gu Suici went abroad at the age of 12. Presumably, the person he had a crush on was abroad. Now did she see him? Back to China. The world is overwhelmingly full of gossip about Yin Qianma. Yin Qianma does not shy away from this relationship. He has posted several microblogs to show his love, sharing 100 little things in love. During this period, she and Xinghan watched movies, set off fireworks, went shopping and gave each other gifts. The marketing account also broke the news that Yin Qianma was going to take her rich second-generation boyfriend to a love variety show. Xinghan's family was not rich when he was a child. His father and stepmother have only succeeded in starting a business in recent years, earning enough money for his family to have food and clothing. But there is still some gap between the rich second generation in the eyes of outsiders. What's more, the assets of the Liu family are all in the hands of his stepmother. And his stepmother also has 2 biological children. One is the daughter of her ex-husband, and the other is the son of Xinghan's father. The original family property, which was not much, will be moved by her stepmother, and it will not be divided into his hands. I don't understand. What on earth does Yin Qianma like about him? After 2 days of jet lag, Ningxi and I made an appointment to have dinner together. I gave her the autographed photo of Gu Suici. She almost wanted to lick the screen and said excitedly, "So handsome, woo-woo. By the way, which one is more handsome than the real person or the photogenic one?" "The real person is 10 times more handsome." "Great handsome." I'm not exaggerating at all. Xinghan's voice came from behind. "Xinmian, who did you just say is handsome? What are you talking about?" The smiles on Ningxi and my faces were condensed, and we didn't give Xinghan a good face. Xinghan followed Yin Qianma. She caught a glimpse of the autographed photo in Ningxi's hand, and said with a slight smile, Are you talking about Gu Suici? She asked herself. I have cooperated with him. He is really handsome, but he is too cold. Yin Qianma has played 18 supporting actresses in films starring Gu Suici, with only 1 or 2 shots. Seeing that we ignored them, Yin Qianma looked embarrassed and asked Lu Xinghan sideways. Xinghan, are these 2 your friends? Lu Xinghan didn't dare to look at me. Perhaps because he was afraid that I would expose him. Let's have dinner together. I'll treat them. After saying that, Yin Qianma wanted to take Lu Xinghan's hand and sit down opposite us. Lu Xinghan didn't want to sit down. He whispered in Yin Qianma's ear. It's better to forget it. I don't know them very well. Ningxi exploded when she heard it. She smiled and said, Haha, Lu Xinghan, you and Ningxi are really not familiar with me. But you and Xin Mian have known each other for more than 20 years, and have been in a relationship for 5 years. Is this not familiar? Then tell me, what do you mean by ripe? Yin Qianma laughed out loud and asked Lu Xinghan. So Miss Shun is your first love girlfriend who has been dating for 5 years, and has never slept with her? After saying that, she helped Lu Xinghan fight Ningxi. Miss Ning, falling in love doesn't necessarily count as acquaintance. You have to sleep together. It turned out that she knew my existence. Lu Xinghan didn't mention me to her, but told her whether we had slept together in such a private topic. I think it's too naive. 11. Ningxi's eyes widened, and her 3 views were shattered by Yin Qianma's words. Miss Yen, Shen Mian and Lu Xinghan broke up after your kissing video was exposed. Are you afraid of being known by fans? Yin Qianma didn't panic at all, and was well organized. Then you must know that I am a patient of Xinghan. Previously, he was helping me treat emotional disorders. How can I be a third party? Now that Miss Shun and Xinghan have broken up, it's normal for me as a patient to be with the doctor, right? My 3 views were also shattered by Yin Qianma. Ningxi still wanted to argue with Yin Qianma. I pulled her and said, Forget it, Ningxi, let's go. I don't want to eat. It's a little out of my appetite. I pulled Ningxi up and went to the front desk to buy the bill. Just out of the restaurant, I received a message from Lu Xinghan on my mobile phone. Shen Mian, don't be angry. This is also part of the treatment. The garbage should be in the trash can. You can get out of here. After I replied to this message, I turned around and blocked him. Along the way, Ningxi was cursing and swearing. Lu Xinghan, that scumbag, I'm so angry. And Yin Qianma. And there was a pure little white flower in front of the camera. I didn't expect it to be such a person, and the threshold of the entertainment industry was too low. Mian Mian, how can you be so calm? After all, you have known each other for so many years. Don't you want to take revenge? Don't talk about them, so as not to affect your mood. I stopped at the door of a flower shop and said, Let's go buy flowers. Ningxi and I went into the flower shop to choose flowers. In the past, every time Lu Xinghan sent me flowers, I would trim the flowers and put them in a vase. At that time, Lu Xinghan looked at me in a daze and muttered, Shen Mian, you and Hua are very beautiful, which makes my world brighter. At that moment, he may really feel that I lit up his barren world like a flower. But when I set up the vase and went to the bathroom, I saw him break the vase with his own hands. A destructive smile flashed in his eyes that I walked over and he explained, I accidentally bumped into it. At that time, I didn't understand why he did this. Now I understand that he is sick. When he was a child, he experienced trauma, which made him not cherish the hard-won happiness. Even if the wound is healed, he wants to make a new opening and feel the stimulation brought by the trauma. Under the guise of treating Yin Qianma, he was actually tangling to pursue the excitement of cheating. Don't you keep such a man for the spring festival? 12. I bought flowers and went to the cemetery alone to see my mother. When I approached, I saw a bouquet of flowers in front of her grave. The flowers are still full of dewdrops. It seems that they have just been put down. I looked around to find someone to send flowers to my mother. The cemetery is very quiet. My father died of illness 2 years ago, and now I have no relatives in this world. Who will send flowers to my mother? Putting away my thoughts, I put the flowers I brought in front of the grave. Every time I come to worship my mother, I will share my heart with her. This time I still muttered, Mom, I broke up with Lu Xinghan. He is not worth entrusting me for the rest of my life. You must have slept well in the sky, right? Don't worry about me. I'm doing well now and have a job I like. Falling in love is nothing. If I don't meet the right one, I won't get married at worst. When you were a child, you and your father often quarreled. In fact, I have no illusions about marriage. It's good to be alone. There was a drizzle. I put away my thoughts and said goodbye to the tombstone. Mom, it's raining. I'll come to see you next time. The rain above my head suddenly disappeared, and an umbrella covered me. I looked back and saw a familiar face. Unexpectedly, it's Gu Suici again. The frequency of this chance encounter makes me wonder whether Yu Lao has tied our red line together. So coincidentally, aren't you abroad? Just returned to China. Gu Suici was dressed in low-key black, but it was so dazzling that people couldn't take their eyes off it. He added, I took over the movie and will enter the group in a few days. I nodded and said, It's good. I'll definitely go to see it when it's released. It's raining heavily. He covered me with an umbrella, and we walked side by side out of the cemetery. A black Rolls-Royce parked outside the cemetery. He said to me, "Miss Shen, can you accompany me to a place?" I was a little surprised. If it weren't for the huge difference in our identity, I would even doubt whether he meant me. On the other thing I think about it. Are you free? His eyes were full of expectation, and the words just now were not casually mentioned. I responded, "If you are free, let's go." 13. The car is parked at the gate of Sunshine Primary School. Today is Sunday, and the students are all on holiday. He took me to the top floor of a teaching building. I asked curiously, "Have you read here?" "Well, I'm a transfer student. I only studied here for 1 semester, and then went abroad." "What a coincidence. I also read elementary school here." I lowered my voice. "My mother was a music teacher in this primary school during her lifetime. Auntie is a very good person." He stopped talking, and his face was full of melancholy. We were all silent for a moment. He walked towards the edge of the rooftop, and I stopped him in a panic. "Gu Suici, what are you doing? Don't think about it." "Don't worry, I can't jump." He stopped and continued. It was also a rainy day when he was 11 years old. I stood here and wanted to jump down. He was too close to the edge. Now it was raining. I was afraid that his feet would slip. Before he finished speaking, I took his hand and pulled him, and we hugged each other unexpectedly. He forgot what he was going to say, and I was so excited. It's incredible that I accidentally hugged the movie Emperor. The heavy rain stopped but the sky cleared up. I heard him say in my ear, "Xinhan, please continue to treat me." It seems that this time I made up my mind to face the trauma of my childhood. "Okay. But this time, you have to collect the treatment fee first." He let go of me, took out his mobile phone, and transferred money to me. I was curious about how much money he transferred to me, so I took out my mobile phone to have a look. When I saw that the treatment fee was 1 million, I shook my head and said, "It's too much. I don't need so much." "Not much." While I was not paying attention, he reached out and clicked to collect money on my mobile phone screen. It's a lot for me, but it's not much for him. He is the 3 gold cinema emperor. With his coffee position, this is not enough for his film FE. So much treatment money makes me very stressed. Then I'll take it first. If it can't be cured, I'll return it to you. Whether it can be cured or not, there is no need to retreat. He spoke very lightly, as if 1 million was just money for him to go to the supermarket. That's right, between him and me, it's more than this much money. Then I won't be polite to him. A rainbow appeared in the sky. We enjoyed the rainbow, and enjoyed this moment of silence. He withdrew his gaze and proposed, "Then come to my house with me now and start the treatment tonight." Okay. I followed him back to his house. He lives in the luxury villa area in the city center. His bedroom is very clean and simple, but it gives people a very cold feeling. The thick curtains isolate the outside light. It's like his heart. He turned on a slightly dim light. I asked him before hypnotizing him, "To tell the truth, do you know who those hands are?" He was silent for a moment and said painfully, "Well, I vaguely think those hands are my father, but I'm not sure if it's my fantasy or the truth." No wonder. No one can accept that their father killed his mother with his own hands. This time, you empty your brain and don't think about anything, and don't limit your memory. Let's try to see if you can finish that dream. I took out the hypnotic bell, and slowly guided him to empty his brain. He fell asleep quickly. He slept all night this time. I fell asleep on the sofa when I saw him showing no sign of waking up in the middle of the night. 14. Early in the morning of the next day, he woke up before me. In a trance, someone was covering me with a quilt. I was sleepy and heard him whisper, "I'm sorry, I slept so soundly last night. Would you like to go to bed and sleep for a while?" "No need." I sat up and asked him, "Did you finish the dream last night?" "Well, it's done. Let's talk about breakfast later." He opened the curtains, and the bright sunlight shone into the room. After we washed up, we went downstairs for breakfast. The nanny has made a hearty breakfast, and put it on the dining table in the garden. He took a sip of black coffee and said slowly, "In that complete dream, I saw the memory I forgot." I asked curiously, "The forgotten memory?" "In those years, I saw my father push my mother downstairs with my own eyes. In order to make me forget the scene, my father arranged an expert to give me a potion to erase my memory. If it hadn't been for the fact that the picture often appeared in my dreams, I might have really forgotten it all." I suddenly realized. So you can't tell the difference between reality and dreams? Forgotten things repeatedly torture you in your dreams. And that person is your father, which is the root of your heartache. He looked cold and solemn. Over the years, my relationship with my father has been very cold, and I finally know why I hate him. From the time he pushed my mother downstairs with his own hands, my hatred for him was buried in my bones. I didn't ask how he was going to deal with this matter. Should we re-report the crime, and let his father be sanctioned by the law? Or to bury the matter completely as a secret? This is his family, and I shouldn't interfere. After that, he will be in the group to make a movie. His heart knot has been opened, and then it is to make his sleep back to normal. After negotiation, we adopted the online treatment plan. Every night, I will broadcast a live broadcast to make a sleep aid sound with various hypnotic devices. And he will fall asleep while listening to my live broadcast at the cruise hotel. Not to mention, Although this treatment method is simple, the effect is not bad after he opens the heart knot. Although he will still fall asleep late, he will not sleep until dawn as before. I have to say that this money is too easy to make. I have tried countless times to contact the benefactor abroad who funded me. But as before, I still can't contact him. The number that the community called me was an empty number. During this period, Lu Xinghan was busy recording a variety show with Yan Qianma. I took the time to wash off the ring above my finger. The process of washing one's body is very painful, just like stripping a relationship. After washing, it left a faint scar, which was a little dazzling. The film Gu Suici made this time as a suspense crime film. He played a man who killed his wife in it. One day 3 months later, Gu Suici's film was about to be released. He called me. Xinmian, can you come to the crew? Stay here for a few days and wait for me to kill you. In the past 3 months, we have been in touch every night, and have become very familiar. I readily agreed. Okay, send me the address. The next day, I flew to the crew to find him according to the address he gave me. When I went there, he was filming the wife-killing scene. His explosive power was amazing, and he was very emotional. The people we watched next to us were all brought into that situation by his performance. After the play, he sat in the dressing room for a long time and couldn't get out. I went in and saw his red eyes in the mirror. I know that he substituted this scene as his father and mother. This seems to reveal his scars. I put my hand on his shoulder and comforted him softly. Don't think so much. It's just acting. Xinmian, can you hug me? At present, he has a kind of broken beauty. All right. I approached and hugged him gently. The next moment, he hugged me tightly, as if he was going to embed me into the bone marrow. I thought to myself that he just wanted to be comforted, and I happened to be by his side. Before 15, I checked Gu Suici's family background. His father is a well-known entrepreneur, and the president of Gu's group worth 10 billion. If Gu Suici doesn't enter the circle to make movies, he is the heir of a proper rich family. His father married another woman not long after his mother's death. The woman was infertile. After marrying into the Gu family, she had no children of her own. She died of cancer a few years ago. Gu Suici is still the only heir of the Gu family. In recent years, when his father was interviewed by a financial magazine, he often shouted for his son to come back to inherit the family property. He also often posts on social platforms to miss his wife. I really can't see that he killed his wife with his own hands. At night, I followed Gu Suici back to his hotel, presidential suite. He was taking a shower in the bathroom, and I sat on the sofa and talked to Ningxi on the phone. Ningxi asked me to turn on the TV, and said that the love variety show between Lu Xinghan and Yan Qianma had started broadcasting. Out of curiosity, I turned on the TV, and turned the channel to Love Variety. On TV, the quick questions and answers of Landing Xinghan and Yan Qianma are playing. The host asked Lu Xinghan, "What do you like about Qianma?" He said without thinking, "Liking her is as pure as a blank sheet of paper." In fact, Lu Xinghan also said this to me. He said that I was like a blank sheet of paper, which made him want to crush it. This description was a little strange. I asked him, "Why do you want to crush it?" His explanation was, "Maybe I'm sick and want to destroy beautiful things. I used to be in the middle of the game and couldn't see through. Now I just want to say that if you meet such a man, just run away." Ningxi complained on the phone. Vomit, is Lu Xinghan blind? After Yan Qianma entered the circle, there were 7 or 8 gossip targets. Is he still famous for liking to play with the crew couple, as pure as a blank sheet of paper? He also said it out loud. There are indeed a lot of gossips about Yan Qianma. There are no works that can be obtained. The popularity is maintained by gossip. Even I think Lu Xinghan's words are a little funny. Are you sure you didn't say the opposite? Ningxi was still complaining on the phone, and Gu Suici's voice came from the bathroom. "Xinmian, help me get the bath towel." "Okay, here we come." I got up and helped Gu Suici take the bath towel. He opened the crack of the door and reached out to pick it up. I lowered my eyes for fear of accidentally seeing something I shouldn't have seen. The finger inadvertently touched his moist and slender fingertips, and he lost his mind for a moment. He seemed to stare at my fingertips. Wen's previous ring was gone now. After I went to the professional institution to wash it twice, the scar had faded and almost disappeared. Ningxi asked on the phone, "Xinmian, who was talking just now? Who asked you to take the bath towel? Why is the voice a little familiar?" "Wait a minute." I walked back to the sofa quickly and replied in a low voice, "No one." Ningxi guessed it and asked excitedly, "It can't be Gu Suici, right? Haven't you been treating him for insomnia recently?" I acquiesced that I was afraid that Gu Suici would not hear well, so I wanted to end the call as soon as possible. "Let's not talk for now." "Wait." Ningxi stopped me and speeded up his speech. "You are all in the same room, but you should try harder to take him down." My voice became quieter and quieter. "What are you talking about? He is the movie emperor, and it's impossible for me and him. How can it be impossible to get the moon first in the near water? Do you think you are not worthy of him? Isn't it?" I got up and pushed open the floor-to-ceiling window, and walked to the terrace to return the volume to normal. He and I are from the same class. If we hadn't met him by chance on the journey, he had insomnia, and I happened to be a hypnotist, We would never have met in our lives. Ningxi retorted. Lu Xinghan and Yan Qianma are not the same class. Aren't they together? They also participated in the love variety show. Even if they break up in the future, Lu Xinghan will cross the class. I have professional ethics, and don't want to attack my patients. Ningxi said bitterly. No one stipulates that hypnotists can't fall in love with their own patients. Don't set limits on yourself. Look in the mirror. In fact, your figure and face are no worse than those of female stars. You are more natural. If I were Gu Suici, I would like you too. I know myself. The women he comes into contact with are much better than me. Ningxi hates iron but not steel. Why can't you get oil and salt? Can you guarantee that you didn't treat him as an object of fantasy when you slept? My cheeks turned red, and I didn't know how to answer for a moment. Cough. Ningxi smiled. I told you the central thing, right? You are single now, and he is also single. Whether you can win or not, let's catch up first. I stopped the topic. Well, I really can't talk anymore. I'll hang up first and call you when I'm free. Ningxi responded. Aha, we'll talk when you're done. After hanging up the phone, he looked back and saw Gu Suici standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in a silk nightgown. 16. He pushed open the floor-to-ceiling window, walked to the terrace and asked with interest. What were you talking about just now? I don't know how much he heard just now. He looked away with a guilty mind and looked into the distance. I have a friend who is curious about your ideal type. Let me ask him for help. Maybe it's because I'm not good at lying. The more I speak, the more I whisper, and the more I blush. He probably won't see through it. I want to ask myself, right? Sensing that he was looking at me, I realized that I had exceeded my time, and should not have asked him such a question. That I changed the topic. Cough, are you sleepy? Scoot, I put you to sleep. After saying that, he realized that his words were too ambiguous, and added, I mean, I hypnotize you. He pursed his lips, as if he was holding back a smile. Don't be so cramped in front of me. You are a doctor and I am a patient. His smile is so beautiful. I admit that I am not only his career fan, but also his face fan. Well, don't you have a morning play tomorrow? Then let's get started. I went to rummage through the hypnotic utensils in the suitcase. He said behind him, after I fall asleep, you can sleep in the bed outside. I'll open it for you when there is a vacant room next door tomorrow. The hotel is full today. There are 2 beds in the presidential suite, and you can stay for 1 night. Okay, then you lie down on the bed. He lay down, and I sat by the bed to hypnotize him. After he fell asleep, I took a shower, and lay on the bed outside the suite to use my mobile phone. The live broadcast account received private messages from many fans. Anchor, why don't you open the live broadcast tonight? I'm used to listening to your live broadcast to sleep. I can't sleep if you don't broadcast it. In fact, I opened the live broadcast specially to help Gu Suici sleep. Unexpectedly, I unexpectedly gained a lot of fans who also suffer from insomnia. The film is about to end, and Gu Suici has a heavy shooting task in the last few days. I was going to not broadcast live in the next few days, but after seeing the fans' private messages, I changed my mind. When Gu Suici sleeps tomorrow, turn on the live broadcast by the way. Anyway, it's just a live voice. He doesn't talk when he sleeps, which has no effect on him. When I was about to go to bed, I received a message from a strange number. Shin Mian, have you slept? I don't need to guess. I know that it was Lu Xinghan who took the new number and sent me a message. His previous number has been blocked by me, that I didn't reply to him. And he continued to bombard text messages. Have you watched the love variety show? I accompanied Qianma to record a love variety show, which is also part of her treatment. Don't think too much. I know you are still angry. The person I want to marry has always been you, and I have never changed. After the treatment, we will get back together. 17. I didn't reply to a single message. There is no need to say much with him. The next day, Gu Suici went to the crew to shoot early. I waited for him in the hotel, but there were still no vacant rooms in the hotel. The front desk also told me that there would be no vacant rooms in the next few days. I sent a message to tell Gu Suici that he didn't have a room. He replied to me during the filming. It's okay, then live with me. If you are bored during the day, you can come to the crew to visit the class, or you can walk around. I looked at his message and felt a moment of trance. I remember reading a post on the internet before. What does it feel like to have a celebrity boyfriend? Some respondents shared that in the daily life with a star boyfriend, he stayed in a hotel and waited for his boyfriend to finish filming. The current situation gives me the illusion that she is his girlfriend. I shook my head, shook off those thoughts that I shouldn't have, and warned myself that Gu Suici and I are hypnotists and insomniacs, and we can't think nonsense. In the next 2 days, in order not to affect Gu Suici's shooting status, I didn't visit the crew. I eat at the nearby scenic spots during the day, and go back to the hotel to hypnotize Gu Suici at night. And by the way, I will turn on the sound live. I have more and more fans. On the night of the movie Killing Youth, he came back after attending the killing banquet. After taking a shower, I was about to coax him to sleep as usual. He poured 2 glasses of red wine and handed me a glass. Don't be in a hurry to sleep tonight. Let's watch a movie. All right. I took the red wine and toasted to him. We sat on the sofa and drank red wine while watching movies. Only the dimmest light is turned on, which is very atmospheric. The movie we watched was a romantic movie. The film tells the story of the hero and heroine, who began to have a crush on each other in their adolescence, and met again many years later, running in both directions. I suspect that he chose the wrong movie. This is not the movie he should watch. But he took it very carefully. I was already a little drunk when I saw the two reunited, and summoned up the courage to say goodbye. In the movie, the hero and heroine are hugging and kissing. I lowered my eyes and was a little at a loss. He is much calmer than me. The temperature is a little cool in the middle of the night. I subconsciously folded my arms. In a daze, he got up and took a blanket over my shoulder. It's not so cold, but why hasn't the hero and heroine finished kissing yet? It even adds sensational music. It's easy for me to think. His lips look very good to kiss. I don't know what it feels like to kiss. Realizing that there was an association in my mind that I shouldn't have, I turned my eyes back with a red face. He broke the silence with his voice. Shen Mian, you asked me what my ideal type was that day. I'll tell you now. I put the wine glass on the coffee table. Do you still remember? I told you that I have a crush. I listened quietly, and a trace of sourness flashed in my heart. Inexplicably envious of the girl he had a crush on. He turned off half of the movie he watched and said slowly, after my father gave me a needle to erase my memory, I not only forgot that he pushed my mother downstairs with his own hands, but also forgot the content of his studies, and my grades plummeted. My father transferred me to the Sun Primary School. Before I came out of the pain of losing my mother, he had already married another woman. During that time, I thought about light life. When I stood on the roof of the Sun Primary School, and wanted to jump down, my music teacher saved me. She enlightened me and took time to give me a makeup lesson on the top floor every day during my lunch break, which made me regain my hope of living. She is my benefactor. But she committed suicide by taking sleeping pills, leaving behind a daughter. I suddenly realized that the music teacher, who saved him, was his mother. 18 Xinmian, I'm sorry. I didn't know that my aunt had insomnia. His eyes turned red, and he fell into a deep self-reproach. She could have had a rest at noon, but it was used to help me with tutoring. I am also partly responsible for her death. The memory of the dead attacked me. I once heard from my mother that she was tutoring a little boy. Unexpectedly, that person was Gu Suici. I'm sorry, I've been trying to make up for it all these years. I guessed the story without saying it. He was forced to drop out of school by his father, and sent abroad to study with his grandmother. In order to make up for his guilt towards my mother, he asked his grandmother to secretly support me. The reason why Gu Suici said that he was partly responsible for my mother's death was that my mother didn't sleep well, took a nap in class, and was dismissed by the principal. I calmed down and said calmly, Gu Suici, my mother's death is none of your business. In fact, she did not commit suicide because she was dismissed from the school. She had prepared a resignation letter before she was dismissed. At that time, she realized that she had no energy to be a good music teacher. The most fundamental reason for her suicide was a depressive attack. And the last straw that crushed her was that my father's new wife called to stimulate her. So you don't have to blame yourself. It turned out that Gu Suici had been blaming himself for all these years and didn't know how to face me. Hearing me say that, the guilt on his shoulders seemed to dissipate a little. He hugged me and said in a hoarse voice, After your mother passed away, I asked my grandmother to support you. I would come back to see you secretly every summer vacation. In the year I graduated from college, I wanted to confess everything to you. When I came back, I saw you and Lu Xinghan coming out of the Wenshin store, and you were wearing a couple ring. I remembered. That year Lu Xinghan and I came out of the literary store. When we passed the street corner, we saw a teenager standing lonely in the alley. The sunset fell on him, which was so dazzling that I couldn't help but look at it twice. It turned out to be him. The person he has been secretly in love with for many years is me. The media once asked him why he entered the circle, and he said, in order to make her see me. The girl in his mouth is also me. It turned out that all the chance encounters were planned by him for a long time. At this moment, for me, he is no longer the bright star hanging in the night sky that can't be reached. It's the warmth that I can touch with my tentacles. That night, we lay in our separate beds and both lost sleep. While tossing and turning, I heard footsteps. He sat on the edge of the bed, took my hand and said, Shen Mian, it's my way to put you to sleep tonight. While I was still thinking about how he would put me to sleep, he got into the quilt, held me in his arms, and gently patted me on the shoulder. His arms were very warm, giving me a very down-to-earth feeling, which made me reluctant to push away. Half asleep and half awake, his lips were hot, and he was testing my reaction. My hand climbed on his back, and he was encouraged and kissed deeply. 19 The next day, we flew back to the city where we lived. We bought flowers together, and went to the cemetery to see my mother. The last bouquet of flowers was bloomed by him. It was no coincidence that I met him in the cemetery. He took my hand and said in front of my mother's grave, Auntie, don't worry about leaving Shen Mian to me. I will love and take care of her for the rest of my life. I remember last night, after the first kiss, he whispered in my ear, Shen Mian, be my girlfriend. I promised him last night. I missed it for so many years, and I don't want to miss it again. I remember I asked him last night, Gu Suici, if I hadn't broken up with Lu Xinghan, would you have kept this secret in your heart forever? He hugged me, as if he had the whole world. His eyes were firm. I will snatch you. When I was about to ask carefully, the second lingering kiss came again. In a daze, he put a diamond ring between my fingers to cover the traces left by the washing of the body. After coming out of the cemetery, we booked a flight abroad early the next morning. He said he would take me to see his grandmother. I have been trying to contact the person who funded me, and I can't wait to meet her and say thank you to her. That night, I stayed at Gu Suici's house. The live broadcast account was bombarded by private messages. Fans urged me to start a live broadcast online, otherwise they couldn't sleep. So I turned on the live broadcast, turned off the microphone, and played the pre-recorded hypnotic music to the fans. When I came out of the shower, Gu Suici was already lying in bed waiting for me. He took my hand and put me in his arms, with an ambiguous tone. Coax me to sleep. I looked at his open nightgown and swallowed without fighting. How do you want me to coax you? He covered me with a quilt, and his voice became more and more hoarse. What can I do? My ears turned red. Kissing with Gu Suici is addictive and uncontrollable. When we kissed reluctantly, my mobile phone was blown up. I muted it, but I didn't hear it at all. The two of us are quite rational people, and neither of us can control it. 2 hours later, I lay weakly in Gu Suici's arms. I remember that the live broadcast is still on, and the dozens of hypnotic music set should have been played. I brought my mobile phone over, and saw that the live broadcast had been forcibly offline, and my mobile phone was full of missed calls. In addition to strange calls, there are also unanswered calls from Ningxi. I called back Ningxi's phone. After connecting, her tone was very excited. Shen Mian, you are promising. Now the whole world knows that you slept with Guingdi. What? I took a breath of cool air and sat up in fright. You didn't turn off the microphone, and all the voices of you and Guingdi were recorded. Mrs. Tai is so energetic. Stop talking. You can ask Gu Suici to watch the hot search first. I was stunned with my mobile phone. Gu Suici was already looking at the hot search. On the hot search, his name was popular. Gu Suici and hypnotic blogger large scale, recording Gu Suici's sexual tension bursts Gu Suici's 2-hour quotation in the internet era. The spread speed is very fast. The 2-hour recording has been spread all over the internet. My head was about to explode. I didn't expect to cause such a big disaster. I blamed myself. I'm sorry. I clearly remember that I turned off the microphone when I started the live broadcast. Gu Suici was very calm. It's okay. I'll deal with it. This matter is not easy to deal with. If our voice was recorded just now, it would be impossible to jump into the Yellow River. We called each other's names many times in the process. It doesn't matter if I'm an amateur, but he's dead. Gu Suici was calling the agent, and the phone came in again. I connected, and Lu Xinghan's angry voice came from the phone. Shen Mian, are you with Gu Suici? I said angrily. What's your business? Shen Mian, are you mean? We have been in a relationship for 5 years, and you don't let me touch it. How long have you known Gu Suici? You can't wait to give him the first time? It's so noisy that everyone knows it. Do you intend to take revenge on me? Lu Xinghan broke the defense and said in a commanding tone. Get out of his bed immediately. Are you sick? We have broken up, and what I do with him has nothing to do with you. I hung up the phone. Gu Suici has discussed the public relations plan with the agent, and he will directly announce his relationship on the blog. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand how such a mistake happened. Gu Suici said calmly. I don't blame you. When you went in to take a shower, I saw your mobile phone with the live broadcast on. I picked it up and took a look. I may have accidentally pressed the button to turn on the microphone. So that's it. I said I wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. Gu Suici took a photo of me and posted an official announcement. I have been secretly in love with the girl of my whole youth at Xinmian, and I am the one who slipped my hand. I'm sorry for occupying public resources. 20 early in the morning of the next day, Gu Suici and I appeared at the airport, and a lot of paparazzi were squatting. Just because last night, I snuggled in his arms and said, No, I have to catch the plane tomorrow morning. The paparazzi found out our itinerary overnight. Based on this clue, Gu Suici generously took my hand and went through the registration procedures. Gu Suici and I went to see his grandmother, a kindly old lady who moved abroad many years ago. She put an emerald bracelet on my hand and said that I was her granddaughter-in-law. Yan Qianma's Weibo is still updating 100 little things in her love with Lu Xinghan. When updating to the 100th thing, she sent a sheet full of wrinkles and officially announced the breakup. Because the knot was not opened, she had never been happy in so many romantic relationships before. Thank you for healing me. It's time to say goodbye at Lu Xinghan. After they slept, Yan Qianma unilaterally dumped Lu Xinghan, and from then on, he began the life of the female Sea King in the entertainment industry. After Lu Xinghan was dumped, he closed his emotional clinic. He found me with a painful look. Xinmian, I have an emotional disorder. Only you can cure me. Please don't leave me. Let's go back to the past, okay? I ignored him and didn't even want to say one more word to him. I moved the hypnosis business online, and the hypnosis account has been operated for a year, with millions of followers. I used this account to cash out tens of millions, and became a little rich woman. A year later, Gu Suici's new film was released. The film created a box office miracle, allowing him to win various awards and endorsements. He finally gave up his mind, and asked the police to re-escalate the case of his mother's fall from the building. Gu Suici's father has been living in confession for many years. At the beginning, he pushed his wife downstairs because he had a third party outside. He wanted to force his wife to divorce, but she didn't want to let go. During the quarrel, he pushed his wife downstairs. On the day Gu Suici's father was handcuffed, it rained heavily. Gu Suici stood on the roof of the building where his mother had fallen. Let the rain wash away his tears that I stepped forward to hug him, and comforted him. Don't be sad. Shin Mian, thank you for taking me out of the shadows. He turned around and hugged me back. The heavy rain stopped, and a rainbow appeared in the sky. We embrace each other tightly under the rainbow. No matter how big the storm is in the future, we will face it together. After Gu Suici's father was imprisoned, Gu Suici inherited the family business, and he handed over the group to professionals to take care of. We have made a round-the-world travel plan. After marriage, he will act less often and only perform fine. The rest of the time will be used to accompany my wife. Ningxi burst into tears at the wedding of me and Gu Suici, which were tears of joy. She said that she could brag about the fact that her best friend married a movie emperor for the rest of her life. On the wedding night, there was a meteor shower in the sky. Xinghan posted a sensational essay on Weibo. The stars hanging in the night sky are beautiful, but I look forward to seeing countless stars fall when they are broken. You said it was a meteor shower, but for me it was the beauty of the end of the world. In the end, I lost you, the bright starry sky that illuminated my dark childhood. Every night after losing you, I can't sleep anymore. Xinghan and I have also seen the meteor shower together. But no matter how beautiful the meteors in the past are, they are not as beautiful as in front of us. Gu Suici and I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and watched the meteor shower. Every night in the future, we will coax each other to sleep. End.